What happens when an undercover boss, humiliated by a manager, decides to take revenge in a way that changes a company forever? This is a story of power, humility, and the unexpected twist that life throws at us. It's a tale of how one man's pain turned into a company's greatest transformation. Let's dive in. The sun was setting over the city of Crestwood, casting a golden glow over the streets. In a small, modest apartment on the outskirts of town, a man named Victor Lane sat at his desk, staring at a pile of papers. Victor was the CEO of Crestline Industries, a company known for its innovative products and rapid growth. But today, Victor wasn't in his corner office, surrounded by glass walls and expensive furniture. Today, he was just another face in the crowd, dressed in plain clothes, ready to step into the shoes of an ordinary employee. Victor had always believed in leading by example. He had started Crestline Industries from scratch, working long hours and sacrificing everything to build it into what it was today. But lately, something had been bothering him. Reports of low employee morale, complaints about unfair treatment, and whispers of favoritism had reached his ears. Victor knew he had to see things for himself. He had to go undercover. The next morning, Victor arrived at Crestline Industries, not as the CEO, but as Victor Lewis, a new hire in the customer service department. He was greeted by a stern-looking woman named Linda Harper, the department manager. Linda was in her late 30s, with sharp features and a no-nonsense attitude. She didn't smile as she handed Victor his employee badge. "Welcome to the team," Linda said, her tone cold. "You'll start with the basics. Answering calls, handling complaints, and following the rules. No exceptions." Victor nodded, tried to appear eager, but inside he felt a pang of unease. Linda's demeanor was harsh, and he could sense the tension in the air. As the days went by, Victor began to understand why. The customer service department was a pressure cooker. Employees were overworked, underpaid, and constantly criticized. Linda ruled with an iron fist, belittling her team at every opportunity. She had a habit of singling people out in front of others, making them feel small and worthless. Victor watched as his co-workers struggled to meet her impossible demands, their spirits slowly breaking under the weight of her words. One afternoon, during a team meeting, Linda turned her attention to Victor. "Victor Lewis," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Care to explain why your call times are so slow? Or are you just here to waste our time?" The room fell silent. Victor felt his face flush with embarrassment. He had been trying his best, but the systems were outdated, and the workload was overwhelming. Before he could respond, Linda cut him off. "I don't have time for excuses," she snapped. "If you can't keep up, maybe this isn't the place for you." Victor clenched his fists under the table, his heart pounding. He had never been spoken to like this before. The humiliation burned deep, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had a mission, and he couldn't let his emotions get in the way. That night, Victor lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't stop thinking about Linda's words. They had cut deeper than he expected. But more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about his co-workers. People like Sarah, a single mother who worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, or Mike, a recent college graduate drowning in student debt. These were good people, hard-working people, and they deserved better. Victor knew what he had to do. He couldn't reveal his true identity yet, not until he had all the information he needed. But he could start making changes, small ones that would make a difference. The next day, he began reaching out to his coworkers, offering help where he could, and listening to their concerns. Slowly, he started to piece together the bigger picture. The problems ran deeper than he had imagined. Employees were afraid to speak up, fearing retaliation from Linda. The company's policies were outdated, and the work environment was toxic. Victor realized that this wasn't just about Linda. It was about the system that allowed someone like her to thrive. Weeks turned into months, and Victor continued to gather information. He documented everything, from the way Linda treated her team to the flaws in the company's processes. But as he dug deeper, he also discovered something unexpected: Linda's story. One evening, after most of the team had left, Victor overheard Linda on the phone. Her voice was softer than he had ever heard it, filled with worry. "I'm doing the best I can," she said, "but it's not enough. The bills keep piling up, and I don't know how much longer I can keep this up." Victor felt a pang of sympathy. He had always seen Linda as a villain, but now he realized she was human, too. She was struggling, just like everyone else. The difference was, she had let her struggles turn her into someone she wasn't. The next day, Victor called a company-wide meeting. The employees gathered in the conference room, curious and nervous. When Victor walked in, still dressed as Victor Lewis, the room fell silent. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Victor Lane," he said, his voice steady. "I'm the CEO of Crestline Industries, and for the past few months, I've been working alongside you, learning what it's really like to be part of this team." The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Linda's face turned pale, her eyes wide with shock. Victor held up a hand, silencing the room. "I've seen the best and the worst of this company," he continued. "I've seen the hard work, the dedication, and the passion that each of you brings to the table. But I've also seen the pain, the frustration, and the fear. And for that, I take full responsibility." He turned to Linda, his expression softening. "Linda, I know you've been under a lot of pressure, but the way you've treated your team is unacceptable. You've let your struggles define you, and in doing so, you've hurt the very people who rely on you." Linda looked down, her hands trembling. Victor stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. "This isn't the end for you. It's a chance to start over, to be the leader you were meant to be, but it's up to you to take that step." The room was silent, the weight of Victor's words hanging in the air. Then, slowly, Linda nodded. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't know how much I was hurting everyone." Victor smiled, a small but genuine smile. "It's not too late to make things right," he said, "for any of us." Over the next few months, Victor worked tirelessly to transform Crestline Industries. He implemented new policies, improved employee benefits, and created a culture of openness and respect. Linda, to everyone's surprise, became one of the company's strongest advocates for change. She apologized to her team, took responsibility for her actions, and worked hard to earn back their trust. The company flourished, not just in profits, but in spirit. Employees felt valued and heard, and the once toxic work environment became a place of collaboration and growth. Victor's undercover mission had not only changed the company, it had changed him. As he stood on the rooftop of Crestline Industries one evening, watching the sunset, Victor reflected on everything that had happened. He had started this journey seeking revenge, but in the end, he had found something far more powerful: understanding. The moral of the story? True leadership isn't about power or control. It's about empathy, humility, and the courage to admit when you're wrong. Because sometimes, the greatest changes come from the smallest acts of kindness. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Stories like these remind us of the power of kindness, courage, and standing up for what's right. If this story touched your heart, made you think, or inspired you in any way, let us know in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to share this story with others. Sometimes, a simple act of sharing can make a huge impact. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join our community. We've got more heartfelt stories coming your way. Until next time, remember, kindness changes lives. See you soon.